Most times your reason for not doing things is those 2 or 3 voices in your head that are judging you for why what you're going to do may be weird, not okay, looked down upon, or why that's a bad choice. And I think he's like, if you can narrow it down to those 3 perspectives of maybe your mom, your dad, your friend, or maybe possibly your girlfriend or partner, you'll think about it, you're like, really, this is what Jimmy thinks?
Right.
And you'll be like, I don't give a fuck what Jimmy thinks, right? You're giving all that power to that person. You're a slave to that person. In essence, you don't have any choice in that kind of hypothetical circumstance. Of course, you do have choice, but I think kind of drawing back on that and through you being able to recognize where your beliefs come from, where and why you're choosing the path that you're choosing, if that's because your parents wanted you to do it or quote-unquote society wants you to do it. I think being able to really look at that, examine it, question it, and then start to, over time, adjust your behavior accordingly and really start to build your life.
It's fucking awful. Like, and this is actually what I was talking about with my friend's dad today. We were talking about it, and he was, we were talking about the whole diagnosing thing. I was telling him about how, in psychology, all I've learned, no shit, for the past 4 years, all I've learned in psychology is, here are the symptoms, diagnose them with something, and give them some pills for it. There's nothing that we talk about that is preventative care. Some teachers have, but it's nowhere near.
For a few in between.
Exactly. Some teachers have emphasized it, but most teachers only emphasize prescribing medicine and basically treating everyone like they're just an illness that needs to be solved. In the field of psychology, we look at people as if they're a problem that need to be solved, when in reality, all you are is a human being with certain habits and behaviors. Yes, some people have genetic predispositions to have depression and anxiety and things that are fucked up. And sometimes you do need, and sometimes I think it's helpful for people to actually take medications. And that's where I truly stand on it.
I've heard the whole chemical. I mean, this is I have not gotten enough research on this, but I recently heard. I think it was a famous actor in the 1990s. It was Jimmy Dore. He does similar videos to Russell Brand on YouTube. I forget who exactly it was, but he was this actor in the 90s was on Today, the Today Show, with Matt Lauer before he became a pedophile and got fired from the Today Show. And so pretty much they got into a big debate about the whole chemical imbalance of depression, right? Yeah. And I was because I always like I said before, I don't know everything, so please question what I'm saying, and I'm just saying this as a nugget of maybe a little asterisk you want to point here, but I think but what I learned from that was it was pretty much the famous actor that was questioning Matt Lauer, and when the subject came up, he was pretty much just I've gone through the literature myself, I've seen what the reports have said, you know what I mean? And it's actually the complete opposite, that there actually isn't a chemical imbalance. It was pretty much like you were pointing on, oftentimes we just say there's this chemical imbalance and people are just a victim of their circumstance, right? And they don't know how to prevent it through things such as meditation and their natural habits that they have internally, right? Through behaviors such as going to the gym, doing all these things, right? And I'm sure there's some type of chemical imbalance, right? I'm sure it's not like this or that. It's a mixture of both. And I'm not saying I agree with that famous actor that said that a while ago, but I think definitely more generally speaking, without a doubt, people, we were just talking about this with Kristen and Jen, so many people just don't even realize the power they have internally, right? They don't even understand the abilities that they have as an individual to completely change their life. You are, as corny as it sounds, a co-creator of your own reality. You know what I mean? And it's through whatever it's the law of attraction, right? It's whatever you focus on, reality will reflect back to you, right? And so if I believe I'm a terrible person, reality is going to reflect that back to me, because reality is neutral and reality is just a reflection of your mind, right? The beliefs, the values, the perception that you have, right? And so once you can understand that you can control your response to things, that you can really choose a perspective and choose a response to every single situation in every given moment, right? You are the one that is telling yourself that story. You're the one that can change the narrative that's going on within your mind. You can I forget who exactly talks about this. He's one of the big guys that I forgot his name. You know him. but pretty much you can change your whole biology just through belief alone. And it's like belief is incredible, and it can drastically change your life. And I say all that because it just so many people nowadays just, like I said before, take the easy way out. They just want the quick fix, such as medication. They just want whatever can get rid of the issue right away, and they don't want to face the wounds. They don't want to face the flaws. They don't want to face all these things. And like, let's just say you do have a flaw, right? You do have an issue. There's a reason why you're feeling like shit when you first encounter that flaw. That is a part of the process of healing, and that's a part of getting through that process of getting to that better end that you want, or that more preferable end, right? And so, like, yeah, when you first start meditating, right, and let's just say you're facing a lot of negative thoughts, right? At least how I like to think about it, it's like the opposite of you've seen that diagram when people first start smoking weed, right? Like, they first shoot up, right? Yeah. And then it's like gradual and gradual and gradual. Over time, you need more and more hits, I guess you could say, or, more of an intake to get that higher level of, high, I guess you could say. And it's just like, it's like the opposite of that, right? It's just, at first, when you're facing those negative thoughts, it's super hard, right? But if you can get over that hump and really start to, observe your thoughts, surrender to the moment, and just not give in to those negative thoughts, even though it can be incredibly hard, and I'm guilty of that, I'm sure you are, it can drastically change your life just through things such as meditation, working out, and really just any type of those natural habits that you have in your life on a daily basis.
Right. I guess to me, I think the thing that just strikes me is, and again, I always preface this with the fact that, I have personally seen people benefit from taking anxiety and depression medication and then weaning off of it because it's helped them get to the point where they have a starting point that's equal to everybody else. I get that, and that works for people that have chemical imbalances and things of that nature. But the problem is too many of us are looking at pills as a solution to the problem when the problem is your habits or the lack thereof. If you think that you should be diagnosed with depression and hop on medication for it, but you don't think that you should look at the fact that you're not exercising, or the fact that your room's a mess, or the fact that you're not working on getting outside more, or the fact that you have terrible relationships with your family, and you're not actively working on those things, but you think your first step should be medication, I think that's ludicrous. And I think it's actually fucking insane to think that there are doctors, people that have studied medicine and studied the field of psychology that think that the step one should be diagnose this person and give them a pill. For what? For what? You've known them for how long? It doesn't make any sense to me. And this is the whole thing I was talking about with my friend's dad earlier. And I don't know. I guess the word is sad is how I feel about it. But because, what are kids supposed to do? They're 16 years old. They don't fucking know anything. I don't know fucking anything.
So I don't know.
But they're going to a therapist. Somebody who you go to who exerts this extreme level of certainty, and you think that they know what's best for you, and they don't.
It's an appeal to authority.
100%. It's also like, dude, where is all of that money going? Straight into the pockets of the people that run these pharmaceutical industries.
Yeah, and I was talking about this the other night, right? It's just like so many people, especially nowadays, you look at especially 40% of America's obese, right? And it's just like more like, I think obese, right? And so you look at, I think young teenagers nowadays, like 15-year-olds, it's like higher than it's ever been. I don't know the exact statistic, but doctors look, if they can get, little Jimmy, who ends up having diabetes, right, on all these medications by the time he's 15, they've got him for the rest of his life, right? Meaning that dude is going to be an absolute, I guess you could say, vending machine of different medications they'll put into him, right? Mm-hmm. And so on that basis, like when they turn 15, right, they'll start to take all these medications, and those medications and they're not going to change their behaviors, right, which will actually get to the root of the issue. It's just he's just going to take all these medications, and it's just going to numb the symptoms of the problem, right? And so, he's like maybe getting a little bit better here, getting a little bit better there, right? But then he needs other medications to solve all these other issues, right? And then it's like this big juggling act of like all these different pills. By the time he was like taking 40, 50 pills, right? And so, it just continues on and on and on, and essentially like he's like the client of these doctors, right? And so according to profit, according to bottom line, right, like if that's what your priority is, it makes sense to have that kind of approach. And so it really doesn't make too much sense in this system why we intertwine money with health, because you get things, like we talked about before, like, issues with the pandemic, like we covered in the last episode, and it ultimately leads to people not getting the help they need. And I think that's definitely a struggle with the system. It's a struggle with individuals, and ultimately the only real solution is for people to be aware of it.
100%. I don't even know why this is like very off topic, but also completely not at the same time. But the whole time as you're speaking, the thing that I'm thinking of is the fact that so many people are scared to say the shit that you're saying. So many people are terrified to say this shit. And you do got to play the game to some extent. You shouldn't go out there, at least in my perspective, I don't think you should go out there and just express every single fucking opinion that you have. But so many people are so fucking afraid to go out there and say the things that they think they should say, or the things that they actually feel to be their truth, because they're afraid of what other people are going to think or what other people are going to say. Like the perfect example is my Instagram page. The more and more that I post, so I don't know when I started cranking on Instagram, like officially, but
It's been like over a year.
It's been over a year, yeah. So when I started posting on Instagram pretty consistently, there was a lot of people that, and on TikTok, there was a lot of people that kept making fun of me, and people would come back to me and be like, yo, I heard this person talking shit, this person was saying something, they think it's really corny, this isn't you, they're saying you're a hypocrite, you're a fraud, this is not you, yada yada. And the problem is that's... When I found out that people were talking shit about me behind my back, making fun of my social media and whatnot, it affected me and it hurt, but I didn't stop posting because it didn't affect me enough to rattle my internal belief of myself to get me to no longer post. But the problem is there are so many fucking people that hear that see people talking shit about other people and will never post even though they should. That will never go and speak their truth even though they should. And to me, it's like, when I see you, it's so natural to me.
Yeah.
Until, because I have
like
just a repetition. How many times there's a camera in front of our faces and you're just talking and you posting it on TikTok and posting it wherever, to the point where it's like, yeah, okay, this is what Cal does. How many kids are willing to do that? Like, we graduated last week, right? When you look at that sea of students that are out there, how many of those kids are pursuing something they're actually fucking passionate about? How many? You could probably count on one fucking hand. And there's thousands and thousands of students there. That's sad.
Yeah, makes you grateful for the people that you do meet.
100%. But all these kids are going into 9 to 5s that they don't care about because of the opinions of who? Their mom, their dad, their peers. 99% of the time, it's people that you actually don't even give a fuck about.
Yeah, Alex Hormozy says, and it's really interesting, I love this perspective, and he says the reason why you're not doing something most times is not because of necessarily external situations. Like, of course, you need certain things in your life to do certain things, right? Like, I wouldn't be able to have a YouTube channel, right, and make high-quality videos without a camera on, like, an editing software, right? So there's things like that. But he's like, most times your reason for not doing things is those 2 or 3 voices in your head that are telling you, or judging you, I guess is a better word, judging you for why what you're going to do may be weird or I guess you could say not okay or looked down upon, or why that's a bad choice. And I think he's like, if you can narrow it down to those 3 choices or 3 perspectives of maybe your mom, your dad, your friend, or maybe possibly your girlfriend or partner, right? Then you'll be like, you'll think about it. You're like, really, this is what Jimmy thinks,
right?
And you'll be like, I don't give a fuck what Jimmy thinks, right? Because
Exactly.
you identify the name, you realize how much, and he makes a really good connection here. He's like, you're giving all that power to that person, right? You're you're a slave to that person, right? 100%. Because you, in essence, you don't have any choice 100%. In that kind of hypothetical circumstance. Of course, you do have choice, right? But I think kind of drawing back on that, and through you being able to recognize kind of where your beliefs come from, where and why you're choosing the path that you're choosing, if that's because your parents wanted you to do it, if that's because your friend wanted you to do it, or quote-unquote society wants you to do it. I think being able to really look at that, examine it, question it, and then start to, over time, adjust your behavior accordingly and really start to build your life. And I think I don't know if this is what Alex Hormozy directly says. I think in a way he said he had to I don't know if he said he had to die to his dad
or die to himself.
Yeah, or die to himself, right? And it's just like, yeah, you die to his dad, you know.
But that's the thing that I wanted to say is, a lot of you hear this all the time in the self-help, self-improvement industry, which is you shouldn't give a fuck about what other people think. But that's not the right way to go about it.
Yeah.
Because if you try and do that, you're going to realize really damn quickly that you're lying to yourself. Yeah. Whether you're going online and posting content on social media and are going to sit there and pretend like you don't give a fuck what people are saying when they're making fun of you. That's a lie. When I first started posting on TikTok, when I first started posting on TikTok, no shit, all I thought about all day, every day was what the judgment of my high school friends. Yeah. That's all I thought about all the time. I was like, they're making fun of me, and maybe they fucking were. Yeah. Maybe they were. They probably were.
Yeah.
The problem is we sit here and we think that the solution to that is to stop giving a fuck about what people think. But you can't. Yeah. What you can do is choose your poison. Pick your suck. I decided that I was going to do it despite the fact that kids might be talking shit, and they probably were talking shit, because I knew that the bigger regret was to not pursue what I was passionate about. So I didn't give a fuck enough to not post based on their opinions of me. But
it still didn't matter to you.
But the problem is people get subdued into the mindset of thinking that in order for them to pursue the things that they want to pursue, they need to be in a position where they don't give a fuck about what other people think. It's like, no. You should be afraid of what people think. You should be afraid of that judgment. It's normal. But you should be more afraid of not pursuing your full potential. And it sounds so corny and cliche, but it's the fucking truth. Because you're going to die one day. You're going to fucking die one day. Like, let that shit, think about it. You hear it so many times, and then it eventually just sounds like another word. Think about the fact that you're going to fucking die. What are you going to do with your time? Are you going to sit here and allow people to decide, well, Mike's going to judge me because, he was fucking the cool kid in high school, and I know that he's going to look at me and be like, what the fuck, and send it around to his friends and call me a fucking loser. Yeah. Is that going to be the voice that dictates your life? Or is it going to be your voice? Who are you going to give power to? Yeah. But the emphasis is not on the fact that you can stop giving a fuck. The emphasis is on the fact that you're going to give a fuck, but you're going to do it anyways. That's the reality. Yeah. And it's so freeing. And Alex Hormozy talks about this all the time. Once you give yourself permission to care about other people's opinions of you, you no longer act on their opinions of you. Because you allow yourself to feel that shitty feeling that's been there the whole time. But when you lie to yourself saying, oh, I don't care, I don't give a fuck about what they say, you're not acting that way. When you acknowledge that the fact that you're going to feel that judgment and you're scared of what people think about you, you allow it to sit there in your presence and then choose how you're going to act. But when you sit there and lie to yourself and pretend like, oh, I just don't care, you're the exact type of person that tries to wear the outfit that everyone likes. You're the person that's staring at themselves for 30 minutes in the mirror before you leave your house. You're the person that keeps retaking Snapchat pictures because you feel insecure about sending how you actually look to somebody. You're the same person that says, I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks. It's because you do, and everybody else does. But the people that lie to themselves and try and pretend like they don't are the ones that live in this fucking fantasy where, you could say it all you want. You care the most because you never gave yourself the ability to acknowledge the fact that that fear of judgment was there in the first place. But the people that acknowledge it, eventually, they're good. The fear is always there. But they act how they know they should act enough times.
Do you think it decreases over time? Well, first answer that question. Do you think because you're not nearly as, you don't care nearly as much about posting on social media.
True. I don't know. To me,
because I think I agree with what you're saying. How you have to acknowledge it's there, yeah. Right? You're okay.
The way that I view it is I don't know, because so take the TikTok thing for example.
It's pretty simple. Right. When you post on social media, do you care about what other people like?
Sort of. Because here's the thing.
Or did it shift from?
Here's the thing. It's when I had 100 followers on TikTok, I really gave a fuck what people thought. Yeah. When I had 280,000 followers on TikTok, I didn't give a flying fuck what people thought. But that's because I had the significance attached to it. Not in the fact where it's like, I should probably reiterate it in a different way. When I had no followers on TikTok, I really cared what people thought, but I also hadn't proven myself. Once I reached 208,000 followers and all these crazy cool statistics that people think are fucking crazy cool, I stopped giving a fuck what people thought. But it wasn't because, I trained myself to not give a fuck what people thought. It's because I had proven I was fucking worthy of what I said I was going to do. And the market was a direct reflection of the fact that I'm good at what the fuck I do. And so there's a certain level of, you might just be insecure because you suck rather than you're super afraid of other people's opinions. With that said, I do think the more repetitions you have of acting regardless of,
so you develop more certainty over time, right? Because like through you proving yourself, right, you were able to be like, you developed like kind of like an inner knowing, meaning like, I know I'm good at what I'm doing. Yeah. Therefore, others people's judgments that say I'm bad, that say all these negative judgments that judge me and say, what the fuck is this kid doing, just simply aren't true because of all the evidence I have, right? And you've proved that time and time again through, the different social media work. And it's like, to me, if you kind of have that stack of evidence, right, there's no need within you to kind of prove yourself to others.
That's exactly it.
And I think, because I was thinking about it more and more, and because I get what you're saying, totally get what you're saying. The same thing has happened with me with a videographer, right? Like, I just know I'm a good videographer now, like, vice versa with you, right? And it's like, I'm a good videographer, and I was thinking back on it a little bit, and because I remember I used to be so self-conscious about how other people viewed me. Mm-hmm. And I think when you start to be even more authentic, right? Like, so you accept, like, you have that kind of image in your head, right? Or you have those thoughts about what other people are saying about you, right? And you have that, you're observing those comments, you're accepting them, right? And then you make the choice to be authentic, to be who you really are. And the more you put that into practice, the more you stack up that level of evidence for who you really are, right? And so over time, just like you with being on social media, just like me with being a video editor, you as a person, right, you become so much more, I guess you could say, comfortable in your own skin by losing the fear, not necessarily losing the fear, but I guess you could say decreasing the fear of fearing what other people are going to say, right? And so, like, just by you having those repetitions of being so authentic, by doing what you really want, by following your passion, you are so comfortable in your own skin, and you're you can easily be yourself around others without that fear, and I guess you could say self-consciousness of how they might judge you, or maybe what position you are in that mental hierarchy within your friend group or something like that. And I think just really through being more authentic, through following like who you really are as an individual, you become less self-conscious over time and less fearful.
The way that Alex Hormozy puts it, he says, you just got to outwork your self-doubt. Yeah. It's really that fucking simple. If you are self-conscious about something, like let's say you're self-conscious about, how good you are at being a content creator. You spend a good year and a half, 2 years, working your ass off, posting every single day, 5 times a day on TikTok, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and yada, yada, yada. Eventually, you're gonna get to a point where you don't give a fuck what anybody else thinks about you as a content creator because you've done it so many times and you've perfected your craft to the point where you're a good fucking content creator, so their opinion... Yeah.
What intention is that coming from?
What do you mean?
When you say... Like the exact example you just gave.
Yep.
Is it coming from the intention that I'm going to prove that I'm a great content creator, or are you just going to do it anyways because you really love what you're doing in itself for itself? Because what I'm wondering is if you start with the intention that I'm going to prove myself, right, and I'm going to grind so hard, I'm going to do so much, and I'm going to progress, that like kind of motivation of just like in wanting to prove yourself, like, and then you kind of through all those repetitions, do you naturally get to a point where you kind of lose that innate I guess you could say intention of wanting to prove yourself, and then you just kind of reach a point where you have done that? Or does it kind of just come from do you think that's the case? And then also, do you think you should pursue it from that kind of intention?
Because No, I don't think you should pursue something with that intention. If your intention is, I'm going to prove this to you, you're in it for the wrong reasons. And eventually that's going to hit you in the face. What we're talking about is a side effect of pursuing something you're passionate about, which is self-doubt and judgment from other people, or the potential judgment from other people. But the best way to overcome your own self-doubt and the best way to overcome the judgment from other people is to prove that you're the fucking man.
Yeah.
That's the best way to do it. People are judging you on your body. Get in great fucking shape to the point where people aren't going to judge you on your body, and you're not going to judge you on your body.
So you're pursuing it for that reason?
No.
No, okay.
If I'm pursuing content creation because I want to help as many people as possible, but there's a blockade in front of me, which is popular kids in high school are going to make fun of me for creating content. The way to get past that blockade is to make the content so many times and perfect the content
with the intention of...
Right. The intentions have never changed. Again, we're not talking about my intentions. We're talking about dealing with the blockade that's there.
Gotcha.
The reason why I wanted to create content is because I want to leave an impact. Right? But the mental judgment of other people is staring me, blaring me in the fucking face, and it's causing me to no longer do the things that I want to do. And if somebody's judgment of you is holding you back from doing the things that you want to do, the only way to get past that judgment is to just fucking do that thing. And do that thing so many times till you're so fucking good at it to where people have nothing to say. There's no question. But that's only because you outworked your own self-doubt. As a byproduct of that, the judgment of other people oftentimes flips. Right? Like in the beginning of me making my TikTok, people talk shit, people made fun of me, they said I was fucking ridiculous, and that I was a poser, and that I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. And then when I had all these followers and likes and shares and whatever, everyone was like, oh, dude, the TikTok's really fucking cool. Or, how do you do it? Like, do you make money off it? And 99% of the time, people are like, can you teach me how to do it so I can make money off TikTok? But people were just asking me questions when in the beginning, all they did was talk shit. The same kids that were talking shit. And it's like, whatever. It's a very small example because it's not like I amassed millions of followers, but the same philosophy applies. I worked my ass off for well over a year. The ideas and my philosophy, my ideas and my aspirations, I guess you could say, came into fruition. And then and only then was I in a position where I was like, oh, fuck. Like, I'm good. I'm good. And then it turned into something which I, used to be a problem because I was afraid of the judgment, to then now became a problem of I got to control my ego because I don't want to use this as a flex. Which to me is a much better problem to have. I was hanging out with my boys today, and as fucked up with their humor as they are, they're my fucking boys, dude. And granted, I'm not gonna spend every waking second with them. I have to work. I have to do the things like build my business. I have to go to the gym. I have to do these things that are, just simply suck and require discipline. But without these amazing social relationships, my life is not thriving. It's really not. And a lot of times, you and I are sitting here and we're just bullshitting in between working on the business or making content or doing whatever, and we just think it's normal because it is. A lot of people don't have that. They really don't. They really fucking don't. And I was talking about this with Rachel, actually. If you are in college, especially kids in college, if you go into your freshman year of college and let's say you're going away from home and you're living on campus, you don't know anybody, and you get random roommates or whatever, the thing you absolutely need to do is get yourself involved with a forced community. Being an RA is a perfect example. You're forced to work with these people. You have to be around them at a scheduled time. You have training. Then you have to work at this time. You have to do this at this time. And you're forced to work together. And there's no ifs, ands, buts, or maybes. You're forced to be in the same environment together. Being forced to be in the same environment with somebody is the exact thing that you need to build those long-lasting friendships. Because it forces you to get over that hump of that awkward stage of building that friendship. And it forces you to learn about other people. It forces you to have those conversations. And eventually what happens is you make really, really good friends. Because you truly are forced to get to know somebody. It's like being forced to go on a date with somebody a million times. Eventually, you're going to figure out what you like, what you don't like, who you like from this set of people. And to be honest, anybody that I've ever met that hasn't been in some situation like that is never living at least, at tops, it's average in terms of their college experience. The people that I know that have the best college experiences are the RAs and people that work on campus. Those are the two. and it's a work environment. Work. You go there and you have a fucking blast. You look at the people that are the happiest, the people that don't complain about having no friends. It's always the people that join some sort of college work environment. If you're struggling making friends, that is the fucking unlock. It is the biggest tip I can give to any college freshman, and I wish I had known. That's the hack. You want to know what it is? That's what it is. Granted, there are a lot of people that are just extroverted that I know that just are willing to go down the halls and knock on doors and are not afraid of people looking at them weird and just have a ton of friends because they're just so outgoing. Maybe you got blessed with that gene, but most people didn't. And if you didn't, and you want to make friends and you don't know how, put yourself in a forced work environment. It forces that awkward stage completely out of the picture, and it forces you to become friends with those people, and it's the most amazing experience that anyone can embark on. It's why I met you. Yeah. It's literally why I met this little fucker right here. I forced myself. I was like, I want friends. I also want to live on campus, and the RA gig was the perfect thing to do. So I became an RA. Hate it or love it, the best decision I made of my entire life, arguably. And goddamn, is he handsome!
So I think to like connect that back to the episode, right? It's like I couldn't agree with that more. Like, I mean, yeah, just getting involved is like, I mean, if you want to do that willingly, like, dude, 100%, like, get involved in the club. But I know for that, like, for me, I wasn't interested in getting involved in a club, right? Mm-hmm. But like, for instance, becoming an RA or being a part of your building's hall council or like just getting a job here on campus, something like you said, this forced commitment, this forced obligation is like, you pointed it out perfectly there. Like, you're forced to get past that awkward stage. And I think for a lot of people, like, just taking, kind of drawing back, like, they have that awkward stage because they're afraid of, I think part of it is definitely what people think of them, right? Like, and it's also partly biological too, and it's just like, you're just kind of have that kind of like survival mode up when you like you get to know someone and you're just like like it's like that primal instinct, you know?
The primal instinct to do what?
Like, no, it's just like it's to kind of like keep your guard up, you know?
Right.
And like
it's
just like you're kind of, it's like that animalistic aspect of you, you know?
Yeah.
And it's, you're like, am I safe? Am I not safe? Like, does this person think I'm weird? Like, just so you know, you're trying to stay in your comfort zone a lot of it. And I think when you start to do that enough, when you start to have those forced obligations where you're forced to get in, I mean, like, you know, that the hardest day of work is the first day, right? And it's like every day after that just becomes more habitual. And I think just when it comes to either being yourself or you're pursuing a career, you're pursuing a path, and you feel this need, I guess more generally speaking, you feel this kind of awkwardness or you feel this kind of discomfort or distress.
Right.
I think the best way to do it is... Oh, there's a moth in the room. How did you get in here?
You're lucky it's your room, because you know what I do to that thing.
I was about to.
How could you?
I think, yeah, just like kind of like that distress of like really any area you're going into, whether that be like, you know, trying to get involved on campus in college, trying to make friends, trying to pursue a job that you're really passionate about, or just a really anything. I think, generally speaking, you just have to take that first step. You just have to, as bad as it sounds, and I think a really good strategy to get past that is to develop a forced obligation, to develop like that. That's a really great strategy. But yeah. I think for most people, like you said, they don't really have that option. You know, like, let's just say you're not in college and you're 30 and you still feel like, you know, you need that kind of community in your life, right? And I think just, you know, just trying your best to take that first step, regardless of what people think, is so crucial, because no growth happens in your comfort zone. 100%. All the growth happens outside your comfort zone. 100%. And I think just developing that kind of undeniable stack of evidence, whether directly or indirectly, whether that be making friends, right? Like, you start to get to know that person, right? And then you're like, oh, this guy's an actual really good guy, right? Like, there's no question about it. Like, you're not worried about it anymore, right? There's no more fear there. And I think that goes a long way with a lot of different areas. And I think people, just by pursuing that, not necessarily to prove themselves, not necessarily to fit in, not necessarily to, you know, please their parents or whatever can really benefit from that. And I think, like you said before, and it's something that is a really important perspective, like if you can find people, good people, that are like-minded, especially if they have good habits and behaviors, just know, it's crazy. I mean, bro, it's nuts how we've just met so many people with similar 100%. Habits and behaviors with us. Like, I mean, fuck me, dude. Like, I don't even, like, I've met so many great people this year. It's crazy. Like, especially recently. Yeah. That I'm just like, wow. Like,
it's fucking crazy.
It's nuts because, like, you really do attract who you are, you know? And it's like, and I think, you know, that really ties into it. And I think, you know, people that, like, your experience only gets better, you know, and the more that you're willing to reach out and value people over things.
Yeah, and, you know, the thing that I've found to be, you know, so fucking true, especially after starting to create content, is I realized, you know, not everyone's going to be on board with this version of you. Like, one of the things that my friends say to me all the fucking time, and it's like one of our jokes, is that there's some fake version of Jason on social media, and the world thinks that I am, you know, life coach Jason, and, you know, in reality, that's not me at all. I don't know anything about self-improvement. I'm just putting on this front. When in reality, it's, no, I'm a creative person. There's a part of me that's really stupid and silly and goofy and you know, fucks around a lot. But there's also another part of me that likes to have intellectual, stimulating, and philosophical conversations. Yeah. And a lot of my friends don't get that part of me, and that's fine. A lot of people don't understand that part of me, and that's totally fine. Yeah. But the more repetitions I have of having these conversations with somebody like you or somebody that I, you know, can actually have these conversations with, the more I'm comfortable with just expressing who I want to be when I want to be it. Yeah. I don't need to be life coach Jason 24/7 just because I make content and post on Instagram of maybe even this fucking reel. That doesn't mean that I need to be that person 24/7. Yeah. I can still fuck around and be stupid and make jokes and just be ridiculous when I want to be. But the fact of the matter is, you know, just because, you know, people view you a certain way doesn't mean that's who you need to be all the time. Right? It's a comedian's curse. They're super funny. People think they're hilarious. And so everywhere they go, they have to be the funny guy. Kevin Hart talks about this. Anytime people see Kevin Hart out in public and they meet him and they shake his hand, they're waiting for him to crack a funny joke. When in reality, he's a chill dude. Yeah. Right? They look at him and they see him filling these shoes when he's, you know, preaching a Netflix special and he's being fucking hilarious, but they think that that's who he needs to be 24/7. Yeah. When in reality, he should just be who he wants to be. And you should just be who you want to be. And whether that means you're having a philosophical, deep conversation or that means you're just fucking around cracking jokes with your friends, so be it. But don't feel forced to conform to an identity that your friends or your family or society wants you to be just because that's what they think you should be, or that's just because that's what they see. All my friends see of me is the silly, goofy, stupid version of me. All social media sees of me is the life coach, philosophical Jason. I don't need to be either or. Yeah. I can be whatever I want to be whenever I want to be it. And as corny and cliche as that sounds, that's what sets me completely free and allows me to live peacefully. Because when I walk into the room with you today, perfect fucking example, I'm fucking around, I'm being stupid, I'm cracking jokes, I'm saying stupid shit, and then we sit down, we're still being stupid and silly, and then within 5 minutes, we're rolling. And then 5 minutes from now, we'll probably be cracking stupid jokes again. But the reason why it's so meaningful is because we're not forcing ourselves to do anything. There's sometimes where we hop in the podcast room and the podcast ends up being 10 minutes fucking long because the whole time we're dicking around. Yeah. But once we stop forcing it, that's when it works. Yeah, yeah. And we both know. Yeah. We can sit here. We're engaged. We get it. But there's certain times where we're not. And the reason why we're not engaged is because we're forcing ourselves to fit into the shoes that we think we should be in. We think we need to film the podcast because we need the content. So we're sitting here forcing some philosophical discussion when in reality, we should just sit here and bullshit. And if we want to film it, fucking film it. But, you know, letting it be. Yeah. Let yourself be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Solid. I'm solid.
Oh, God. I choked on my own breath.
Cal's so weird. And he also sucks at basketball. And roll the clip.
That was one clip. One time.
One time.
Fucking scrape your ass.
How many shots did you miss?
We'll play one-on-one after August 5th, all right? And I'll go
What are you doing till August 5th?
I can't risk it.
No, I can.
You're such a
I
pussy.
know it.